Welcome back, everybody. I'm Phil, and this is Drop Bear Perspective. And today we're going to be checking out Steven Crowder. I've been watching him for years. At least, I think I started watching him 2016, early 2016. So I watched him all the way through the election lead up for Donald Trump. And yeah, there's not too much that I can say I disagree with Steven Crowder. He's basically he's the biggest conservative YouTuber. He's been shut down off YouTube a few times. He was actually the reason why the adpocalypse happened back in 2019, because you had Lispy Queer on Vox having a go at Steven Crowder, and when he shot back and called him a Lispy Queer, he was demonetized, and he couldn't even have his shirt with Guevara, which said socialism is for figs. Yeah, of course, we all know what he was alluding to, and yeah, it was a pretty cool shirt. So let's go check out Crowder, and he's back on campus for the first time in a long time. He first started going to university campuses back in 2017. And after obviously what's happened with Charlie Kirk, he's had to do what he can to make a statement and return at some serious cost to himself. $250,000 cost him for security, and that just to be able to do this Change My Mind. It's pretty ridiculous. But let's go check him out, guys.
The reason we're here, and I don't think you would argue that this is unnecessary, the assassination in cold blood is an act of terrorism of Charlie Kirk. Is that political violence? You seem so confident on the Hortmans, but not Charlie Kirk.
I was just thinking about your question.
If that doesn't constitute political violence that could be answered in the affirmative immediately, of course, what would?
Hey YouTube, what you're about to watch is a new segment we call Change My Mind. Welcome back to Change My Mind. It's been a while. This is the place where we rationalize, we reason our positions on controversial topics. When I created Change My Mind in 2017, I had one goal in mind, and that was to shine a light on the institutions that had failed Americans. Often students propagandized by the educational system, as well as legacy media.
Mr. Trump's once again defending comments he made about the white supremacists and neo-Nazis.
There were very fine people on both sides.
The president's statement that both sides are responsible for the violence in Charlottesville.
We have exactly the same problem here in Australia. It's ridiculous. Unfortunately, most of the Western world.
It was designed to bring genuine dialogue to what had become an impenetrable echo chamber dominated by progressive professors, administrators, student leadership, along with the complicit media and big tech establishment. To put it simply, the kind of dialogue that evaded all of cable news.
I know you said that. Please don't get hurt.
You said I was being hyperbolic. Let me respond. I'm not. You're being a what man as an insult?
That just shows you the ridiculousness of all of this.
And so, nearly a decade later, with billions of plays, countless discussions, inspired student iterations, one meme of the year, and yes, even a few changed minds later,
I somewhat changed your mind.
Change My Mind had grown far bigger than I ever initially anticipated. And with that came pushback, controversy, increasing hostility, and yes, straight up violence.
You piece of living garbage ass dumpster fire.
That was a man who identified as a woman, being tolerant as the left are.
It got to the point where security became a serious issue. And so I pulled back. Now, given recent events, however, I felt led, compelled even, to bring it back. Voices like ours, and I mean ours, can't be silenced. And I say this to you watching on the left, made me do this. I didn't necessarily want to, and everyone told me that this, in today's climate, could not be done unless I took
Look at that. He's got to wear a bulletproof vest to be able to go to talk to college students. This is the world we live in.
Unbelievable precautions unless it was absolutely kept a secret until mere hours before the event as a pop-up, unless I literally brought an army with me and bulletproofed the entire radius, which is exactly what we did. And so today, for the first time in many years, Change My Mind returns, and back to one of the places where
I can guarantee you won't see Destiny or any of those crazy leftards having to get security anywhere near to the same extent as what anyone on the right does.
it all began, Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas. Today's subject is plain and simple. The left is violent. Will anybody be able to change my mind?
Thank you, Christina,
Sorry,
for sitting
tell
down.
me your name one more time.
Stephen.
Yes. Okay.
So I'll take that. I mean, you're not maybe super familiar with what we do with these this series. Let me just kind of clarify what it is. First, I'll tell you what it's not. It's not gotcha. It's not clickbait. This is not meant to be, or it won't be used to clip into some kind of a dunk or something to just foment people espousing the same rhetoric on one side. It will be uploaded contextually in its entirety, where hopefully we have a productive discussion. We rationalize our positions, reason them on controversial topics. Before I get to the premise of today, could you do me a favor just so we can find some common ground? This is what's being cited right now quite a bit. Just the definition of political violence. I want to make sure we both agree on it.
Political violence are criminal complaints, indictments, and court records looking for crimes that seek a socio-political change or to communicate to outside audience.
And I'll summarize it. That's the technical description from the source cited. It's violence as a tool being used toward a political end. In other words, just because you vote Democrat or because you vote Republican, if you accidentally hit someone with your car and commit manslaughter, that's not political violence. If you vote Democrat, but let's say you go out and run someone over because of their politics, that would be political violence. Do we agree on that?
I think I can agree with you on that.
Okay,
yes.
Good. So the premise today is that particularly today in 2025, by and large, the political violence is coming from the left. It's not proportionate with that on the right. That's the reason for the security that you see today that's very necessary. And it's a problem that's reaching a boiling point that may not be sustainable. If you disagree with me, you're welcome to change my mind.
I don't know if I can change your mind, because here's the thing. When I see the sign that says the left is violent, and you talked about how it's not proportional, and I would love to see your statistics about that, because we could make the same statement about the right very easily, right? Like we could say that was it just a month or two ago that the Democratic lawmakers were shot, and that was like, all right. I think our bigger problem is that the
Talk about the Hortmans in Minnesota, right?
Right, yeah, because she was a senator and her husband was also killed, and that was done by the right, whatever. But
it wasn't. But continue.
Oh, that wasn't a It wasn't a conservative or.
No, that's why I used the example that I did. The person, Vance Bolter, who committed it, specifically said it had nothing to do with politics, and he left a letter reasoning it, saying that Tim Walz had ordered him to carry a hit out on people.
Sorry, guys. Those QR codes he shows, that gives you a link to all of his sources. This is what I love about Crowder. They do a lot of research, and they post all of their sources. It will come up again, but yes.
So he was very clear that it wasn't in the name of politics. That's someone who happened to be, on some issues, Republican, on some issues, Democrat. And he was appointed by a Tim Walz administration. So that was not done in the name of political violence. He said Tim Walz ordered him to assassinate somebody who was out of his mind. But I'd like you to continue with the example.
Sure. And let's say, okay, so he wasn't right. That's fine.
No, it wasn't political violence.
It wasn't political. Oh, it didn't count as political violence.
Based on the definition you agreed to, right?
Yeah. And I think a lot of it too is there's so many things happening. It's actually really hard to get all the facts about everything.
Sure.
And our media is when they make these statements or they start to postulate about an event, and it will become political before we've even fully fleshed everything out, you know, like.
Could you give me an example?
Well, like the shooting that happened at the church yesterday, I haven't seen enough. I don't know. Have you seen any media on it yet? I'm curious to know what the media is saying
quite a bit
about it, and I want to know if how are they characterizing it?
Yeah, the media isn't characterizing. Even I will say this, even on the left and the right, they're not really characterizing that as political violence.
Okay.
Because it was a guy who really seemed to harbor ill will toward the Mormon Church. So it's pretty hard to categorize it as political violence when the targets were largely conservative, and the man who carried out the action seems like he might be a Republican. But I think we could pick a more clear example, a multitude of them. The reason we're here, and I don't think you would argue that this is unnecessary, the assassination in cold blood is an act of terrorism of Charlie Kirk. Is that political violence?
Yes, 100%. Why is it taking so long?
You seem so confident on the Hortmans, but not Charlie Kirk.
I would say, I was just thinking about your question. Yeah, I mean, probably because he was like Turning Point USA is a conservative organization, right? That's meant to try and rally young conservatives and be involved. And so, yeah, I would probably agree that his death was political, or his murder, assassination was politically violent. But I guess I just have a hard time reconciling that with, you know, we can say that the senator and her husband being killed wasn't political, but...
I'll tell you exactly why.
You know?
I'll tell you exactly why. Because the express motive of the terrorist who assassinated Charlie Kirk was politics. He killed him because he said he's one of those hateful conservative right-wingers. The rhetoric that he espoused, the reason that he killed Charlie Kirk, was to take out someone of his political persuasion and make others of his political persuasion afraid to express their opinions. The man who assassinated, which I roundly condemn, Vance Bolter, the Hortmans, did not do it as a means to a political end. Charlie Kirk was assassinated. He is not an elected official, solely because of his political perspective as a method to instill terror in the populace.
Yeah.
How do I know? Because a person said it was political violence.
Okay, what if we just don't even have enough information, though? Like, what if it is politically motivated and we just don't have enough?
At the end of the day, they're trying to silence all of us. That's what it was all about when they took out Charlie Kirk. But instead, they've only made our voices louder. And they have just come across totally insane with their reactions, praising the assassin and celebrating the way Charlie Kirk was taken out. Just totally demonic.
To know about it yet.
In that case, we do.
You know, well, not in this particular instance, but I just mean like with the Hortmans you mentioned.
Okay, well, let's separate the gray area.
Okay.
Right, that's why I kind of start with the example. Just because you, I would assume, let's say, vote Democrat or Republican, just because you commit a crime doesn't make it political violence. I mean, if we did that, we'd have 90% of the crime being committed on behalf of the Democrat Party because most people in inner cities vote Democrat. I don't consider that to be political violence. People have political beliefs, and people commit violence. Sometimes they rob a store because they want money. People who commit political violence do so specifically to instill fear in political opposition. They specifically commit violence as a means to a political end.
Okay.
And when we categorize it that way, it's overwhelmingly coming from the left. We do have the sources here that we make this available, so you can take the QR code. So what would make you, because you seem very confident the Hortmans was political violence, and then it's nuanced with Charlie Kirk. Why?
Oh, I didn't say it was nuanced at all with Charlie Kirk. I agreed with you after considering your question that it was a political...
If that doesn't constitute political violence that could be answered in the affirmative immediately, of course, what would? Like, what would be required to say, oh, this is clearly an act of political violence or political terrorism, if not Charlie Kirk?
I agreed that it was political violence, so I'm not sure where this question's coming from.
Well, I'm saying because you came in and pointed to an example that would be in the gray area, the Hortmans, and took a long time to agree with that premise of Charlie Kirk. And so what if we don't know enough information? So Charlie Kirk would be very clear left-wing political violence.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Great.
Yes.
So there are more examples of that coming from the left than the right. That's the premise, yes.
Okay. So you're saying clear examples of political violence, and
yes.
You're using clear
violence carried out as a means to a political end.
So there's clear information data that shows us that the left is violent or is more violent than the right.
Yes, not only in crime statistics, but also in the polling after Charlie Kirk's death. Now, I believe that you're discussing this in good faith, and I would assume that you roundly condemn political violence of all stripes.
Of course.
So do I. Just to be clear, I think we both are. That's why we're sitting at a table having a conversation.
Right.
Do you identify as more liberal or conservative?
I like to think I'm moderate because I hold some conservative views and some liberal views.
Okay.
And I wish we could have a little bit more moderation in our country.
Like sitting down and having discussions?
Exactly.
Okay.
Like things like this.
Because we get killed for it anyway.
Right. Yeah.
And only the right. Only the right gets killed for this anyway.
Exactly.
You're seeing the one that got through. The reason I stopped doing this for years is because every single time out was a violent attack. Sometimes it was a rock. Sometimes it was a milkshake, could be concrete, acid, chocolate, vanilla, I don't know. Doxing, fire bombings, Molotov cocktails. Maya Angelou spoke at SMU only a few years before my first time here, didn't need this kind of security. And you can see it if you observe your speakers here. And I'll tell you why that is. If you look at the polls post-assassination of Charlie Kirk, and you label yourself as a moderate, those who identify as liberal support political violence at a ratio of 6-1 to conservatives. The YouGov poll said, is political violence acceptable? 77% of conservatives said not at all. Only 38% of those on the left said not at all. 62% of those on the left said somewhat to completely acceptable. We see the same stats after the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. We see the same stats after the fire bombings of the Tesla dealership. And we see the same stats on the opposite side, those on the right roundly condemning political violence. The lowest you'll find is 72. You usually find it in the high 80s. You will not find a number that breaks half on the left.
Okay, you mentioned Donald Trump. Can we jump to that for just a minute?
Donald Trump, sure. I assumed we would.
Well, because I thought that guy was a registered Republican, and then he donated the guy who attempted to assassinate Donald Trump. I'm sorry, I'm really terrible at names.
Crooks.
Yeah, that he was a registered Republican. So would you consider him a act of violence on the left or on the right?
I would consider the attempted assassination of a presidential nominee political violence, yes.
Yes.
I don't know if you know this, there are a lot of people on the right who don't like Donald Trump.
Yes, I do know a few of them. Yeah.
Political violence isn't just Republican, Democrat. That's why I say left versus right.
Okay.
Those on the right are more routinely targets, and it's very blatant. People can say he was a registered Republican. That doesn't change the fact that it was an act of political violence carried out against Donald Trump, who's a conservative.
Yes.
Republican, whatever term you want to use.
Well, I guess, but if the argument is the left is violent, and I'm just thinking about this guy's, political background from the person. I hear what you're saying, that the right is targeted more often.
Yeah, we're the victims of political violence.
More often, and
much more.
So, would you classify that specific incident as violence of the right or of the left?
Well, the target is the right. The target was Donald Trump. So the net result is the same. We are often the targets of violence.
Yeah, but the left,
including someone who may be a moderate Republican. Yeah, the left is still overwhelmingly violent. And I point to those polls that you can peruse from YouGov, from Reuters, not bastions of conservatism, along with the rhetoric since then. Here's the one thing that you can't point me to. And we can go through the stats. And I know you've probably heard from those on the left that actually there's more right-wing political violence. They're often circulating that right now. I can disabuse you of that notion relatively quickly. I think we'd find common ground there. You still can't point me to an example that is comparable on the right of Charlie Kirk, someone who was not an elected official, a public figure who was really notable for nothing more than expressing his opinion and having conversations, who was assassinated in cold blood and then gleefully celebrated thereafter from the left. And I hope that as someone who's moderate, you understand why that's so concerning to us on the right. When we host vigils and memorials, and the left is so completely fearless of their own consequences that they kill one of ours and show up to the memorials and vigils and desecrate and vandalize. That is the information that creates a powder keg.
Yeah.
The only off-ramp would have been, hey, we kept saying that people like Charlie Kirk, by the way, he was much more moderate than I am. I am Genghis Khan or Attila the Hun compared to Charlie Kirk, but I will have conversations with anyone. I just want to be very clear. So I know that plenty of people would gleefully celebrate my death, my murder, for doing this exact same thing. The only off-ramp would have been the left saying, look, we've called Donald Trump and his voters and Charlie Kirk and Steven Crowder and whoever on the right, Tucker Carlson, take your pick, Sargon of Akkad, everyone. Ben Shapiro, we've called them fascists, we've called them Nazis, we've said that they want to commit a genocide because they don't want to transition children, we've called them racist because they support the police in an era of defund the police, and my God, people out there actually believe it. It's incumbent upon us to tone this down and say, you know what? They're not fascist. We made these people believe that this guy would never relinquish the reins of power. How do you deal with fascists? You can't do it at a ballot box. If I believed that there was an actual government right now that was executing blacks, as the left has said about the police force, if I believed that there was a leftist government that was actually fascist, that would jail any and all political dissidents, if I believed that the left was committing a genocide against white conservative Christian men, and if I believed that that administration would never host a democratic election again, I'd be out in the streets with a gun. You have a huge portion of Democrats who believe that about Donald Trump and his voters.
Yeah, I mean, I believe you saying that people believe that. Absolutely.
That's very different between the right and the left, isn't it?
I mean, I don't know, Stephen. It feels like it's so polarized right now. It's even hard to find common ground on anything. You know, like, I was just thinking about the sign, and it's that the left is violent.
Yes.
Then when I sit down, it's actually the left is politically violent. And so it's kind of it's a modifier, right? We're modifying our conversation a little bit. And so...
No, what I'm doing is matching the intensity and the rhetoric of the left. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have said the right is violent. The political right is violent. And I'm doing what they are unwilling to do, which is sit down and have a conversation. I don't believe it's nuanced. I believe there's black and white, pretty clear-cut good and evil in this one. I believe there's pretty black and white, clear-cut who's responsible for the political violence. But I will discuss it with anybody. So did Charlie Kirk. And they kill us anyway. So I'm matching their rhetoric that I can fit on a sign, but I'm doing the work that the left is not willing to do and having a conversation. But I don't know where we go from. If we have these conversations and short of a brigade coming in, we get assassinated. The left doesn't fear that.
I would disagree, though. I think the left does have...
I totally disagree. You can guarantee Destiny doesn't have to worry about being physically assaulted, having milkshakes, concrete, or even being shot on a campus. Anyone who tries to say anything contrary is just totally delusional.
Their own fears about it. Maybe it's not exactly the same, but I think there's a lot of fear out there. It's just different.
The leftist speakers on this campus don't need the same kind of security. They don't.
I'll take note of that. I mean, I've been a student here for 2 years, and I hadn't even paid that much attention. I don't go to a whole lot of events, but I'll take note of that and see what I notice. So.
Well, let me ask you this. Assuming that I'm not lying to you, right, about these polls, and this is one thing, every show that I do, I'm largely a comedian, by the way. I'm an unwilling participant in this. I want to be telling dick jokes in a comedy club.
I do stand-up comedy too, actually.
Oh, good, okay. Yeah. Do you do some around here?
I do.
You might know my half-Asian lawyer, Bill Richmond. He does a lot of stand-up in Dallas right now. He has a show coming up.
Cool.
Well, let me know. Maybe I'll be able to look it up, and I can't come out and see a show unless I come out with security, but I'd like to see your material. That's actually even another example. A man who works on my show, a man named Josh Firestein, he was a booker for a comedy, a franchise of comedy clubs. When I performed at the Spokane Comedy Club, it was the first time they ever needed metal detectors and security. He'd been a booker there for many, many years. You had actual registered communists do comedy there. He was shocked and he was ready to hate me. He works for me now because he saw why it was necessary. When you perform on stage, do you need metal detectors? Do you need armed security? I have since I was 19 years old doing comedy in clubs. And I don't think I've said anything that necessitates that.
Oh, George was letting me know. I have class at 2.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So how do we fix this then?
Oh, I mean, I think we need to have more civil discourse. I think.
Can't do that. We get shot.
Well, we can. We're doing it right now. Let's
with
not
a brigade.
Be so pessimistic. But Stephen, come on, we have to change our attitudes about it. We can't constantly fixate on the negative stuff. I know it's important, it matters, but we can do it. And just as
I can do it.
It's easy to say that when you're not the one actually being persecuted. Well, they live in a totally delusional world. Rainbows and unicorns.
With $250,000 of security, most people don't have that.
Most people don't have that. And you talk about like fearing for your life.
Yeah.
I am a female pastor in Deep East, Texas. So on Sunday morning,
females cannot be a pastor. Simple as that.
I wait for that time when someone doesn't like what I said from the pulpit and comes up to me. So I too live with a fear, but it's different for me. And,
do you have metal detectors and armed security?
We can't afford that at my church. We have an old person that sits at the front and says hi and tries to intervene in a way that would be appropriate of a Christian. We thought about bringing security to the church. We talked about it.
We literally can't have these discussions on our side unless we have it.
We have security.
It's a necessity.
Yeah. And I think that's really unfortunate that it's gotten so bad. The state of our country is so bad that we can't even talk to each other without one side or the other having to provide ridiculous amounts of safety and security that maybe aren't even guaranteed.
No, yeah, it's true.
Right?
And I agree with you. It is terrible that we've gotten to this point.
Yeah.
It is terrible that it's exclusively incumbent upon one side to have these types of measures in place. Let me ask you this. Because again, I think that we both abhor political violence. Do you think that maybe when one side is being hunted, let's make no mistake, Charlie Kirk was hunted. When people showed up to my house to try and kill me, I was being hunted, right? Any conservative here is one viral tweet, one effective video away from being hunted.
Yeah.
Do we think that when that happens, and we peacefully mourn the loss of one of our peaceful leaders, and we are still approached with violence at memorials and at vigils with desecration, do you think that maybe the both sidesing it, saying it comes from both sides, is actually more harmful than productive? Because it lets the side that's responsible for it off the hook, the clear aggressor.
Do I think it's more harmful to say that?
Why does she even have to think about it? This is ridiculous. She's meant to be a university student, so she's meant to at least have a half-decent freaking IQ. She shouldn't be a stupid woman, yet it takes them forever to be able to come up with an answer.
Both sides.
Do you think it would be more helpful to call the left out and say, hey, you guys have been saying fascist, you guys have been saying Nazi, you guys have been saying genocide, sexist, and people believe it.
Bigot, racist, whatever the catchphrase of the day is.
And we're seeing political violence now that we both hate. Do you think that calling them out aggressively, rhetorically, might be more productive than saying, well, I guess it happens on both sides right now?
No, I don't, because it kind of reminds me of therapy, where it's not necessarily helpful to point the finger in ways that are counterproductive. Not that I'm not opposed to holding people accountable, because that's a different thing.
No, I understand.
So,
maybe let me ask you then this way, where you say pointing fingers. What is the reason that we record crime statistics?
I don't know.
Would you agree with the fundamental premise that its primary purpose is risk assessment in determining who's most likely to be victimized? For example, and I hear this from the left, transgender or gay sex workers are more likely to be targets of violence than heterosexual sex workers, right? Those studies have come out, and by the way, those seem to be true. So we go, okay, these people are more at risk. The reason for crime statistics is to assess where the risk exists. Otherwise, it serves no purpose.
Okay.
Will we agree with that?
Fair.
Okay.
Sure, I'll trust your information on this.
Well, it's not information. It's just the reason. This is the why. Why else would we have crime statistics? Why would we record them? There's no reason. Just, okay, crime was committed. There's nothing we can do about it now.
I'll just have a history. I mean, is another potential reason, but sure.
What's the value in a history?
But history is so important, Stephen. Come on.
In what?
History matters. Oh my gosh.
But history is important in what?
In everything, right? History repeats itself, but I think it holds to your point that
yes.
History matters, because you're saying we've seen these
you don't want to repeat
violence events.
Yeah,
and we don't.
You don't want to repeat negative history.
Right,
so we agree. That's the reason for crime statistics. So, if we look at those statistics and we look at the polls and we see an overwhelming number of those on the left at a ratio of 6-to-1 support violence compared to those on the right, and we see people being murdered in cold blood, if you are conservative, right-leaning in this country, and a public speaker, you are more at risk. How is that pointing the finger? It's identifying the problem and not repeating history, no?
Yes. Well, with data, sure. And data speaks differently than I think sometimes people do.
Sure.
You know, and so I think how data is presented matters a lot.
I agree.
So yeah, I mean, that's kind of all I really have on that particular thought. Were you wanting?
Well, I think actually, going to that point, the data that's presented, for example, right now in the wake of the assassination, and by the way, not just that, we haven't gone more than 3 days with a serious liberal attack, but a serious leftist attack, meaning in the ideology of the left. You have it right here, ICE, that happened, ICE facility. You had another one in, I believe, is it Alvarado or Alvarado? I don't know the right way to pronounce it. People were shot there. There was a bomb threat. The ABC affiliate. Okay, all right. It's like Houston, and then in New York they go Houston. I'm like, I don't know the rules. So forgive me. And then I have French-Canadian mom, so I mispronounce things because she taught me English.
Nice.
And then we look at the ABC affiliate, Jimmy Kimmel. We haven't gone more than 3 days. That's an acceleration right now. And the problem is, amidst that, the left is saying, actually, there's more political violence coming from the right. And that's the rhetoric we've been hearing, and it's dishonest. In other words, data is being presented to the public deliberately, dishonestly, to victim blame. And that's something that we face too, where if you back people into a corner who are avoiding conflict, who are not violent, there could end up being right-wing violence. And when that happens, it's very ugly, it's very effective, it's very swift. And the only way we avoid that is for the left to take accountability of it and for them to tone down the temperature. And by that I mean, right now, and this is
when it comes to it, we're not going to fuck around with you soy boys.
where I show you, I think we both agree on this. So the two sources in the data, I don't care if you see my password, are the prosecution project, that's what's cited in The Economist and NPR, and Cato. These are the ones where they say, hey, right-wing violence is more prevalent. I'm sure you've heard that. Let me show you what they don't include in the data, because like you said, people speak differently than data. Remember this in Portland?
When was this?
The Summer of Love, George Floyd riots. Aaron Danielson, shot point blank dead because he was a Trump voter. And the man, Reinhold, it was Michael Reinhold who shot him, told the cops, I got the Trump supporter, dead. We agree that's political violence?
Yes, of course.
Not a single one of these places cites it. It doesn't exist in their database.
The ones here in your black folder, but not here in this.
No, in there. You have all the sources.
So these ones doesn't.
It's the same thing. The black folder is just those.
Okay.
Yeah. The point is they come from two places. TPP, the prosecution project, or a Cato study, which is reflected by the CSIS as well, where Cato tried to say there's 6 times the amount of domestic terrorism deaths. TPP said right-wing general violence. By the way, all of them agree that in the last year, since Donald Trump has been elected, even now they agree 2 to 3 times more leftist violence than right-wing violence. But that was never included. In other words, when they say there's more right-wing political violence, that's not included as left-wing political violence. You know what else isn't? All the riots, the billions in damages, the 37 dead during the George Floyd riots, the thousands of officers assaulted, the thousands of casualties, that's not included. You know what else is included? Darrell Brooks in Waukesha, Wisconsin, who ran people over in the parade out of an exclusive defund the police, Black Lives Matter, anti-white, black supremacist ideology. That's why he killed them. That's not included. I could go through example after example where you would just as clearly agree that is political violence. I'm not trying to pick a gray one. It exists nowhere. So why do you think that wouldn't be included in the data as left-wing political violence? Because that's the number cited by the left right now to justify it.
I think we have so much data that it's hard to even, especially in today's, well, I don't know, that's weird because you're saying in the police recorded call, they said
he spoke to the police before they shot him.
So it's on a 911 call that
so this is on
the Trumper.
Yeah, he was talking to the police. So there's
police cam video.
This is security camera video, and then I believe there's also police camera video and sworn testimony from the police. But he identified as 100% Antifa.
Yeah.
You can look at his social media. He went out there. There are even, I believe, interviews with this man before this was committed where he was talking about enacting political violence.
Yeah.
Did it, clear as day. Are you a Trump supporter? Yes, we've got a Trump supporter. Bang, bang, dead. All the studies from left-wing sources don't include that. Is that bothersome?
Yeah, I do think it is bothersome because we need to have the facts of the situations, any situation, regardless of where it comes from. And you talked about something you said earlier just reminded me of like the media is not portraying things accurately, and that's adding fuel to the fire.
The media is totally controlled by the left, other than obviously Fox, Sky, and even they tend to skew things, unfortunately. But I'm going to leave this video here, guys. Go check out Steven Crowder. He's been basically kicked off of YouTube, and most of his stuff's actually on Rumble now. But he is pretty funny, as well as very intelligent. He knows what he's talking about. And as I said, he has a great crew that know what they're doing when it comes to research, and they post links to absolutely everything. So go and check him out. Thanks for joining me, guys. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.